TV studios, it's Tattoo Tuesdays with your host, Robert Burley.
All right. Welcome to Tanzania Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Paul saying hi. Tiffany.
Hi.
There it is. We made it to another Tuesday, everybody. It feels a little.
Yay.
It feels a little. Yeah, it feels a little low in the energy around the old virtual studio today. I think
feels a little bit Monday-ish for a Tuesday.
Certainly does.
That too. And also, the air quality index here in Seattle was listed at 213, like extremely unhealthy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, the West Coast is on fire.
Yeah. I have my mask sitting next to me in case I need to bane it.
Yep, that's fine. That's totally fine. It's within bounds. Yeah, we're in the orange today. We've been in the red or maroon the last 20 something days, and so today we're in the orange. So it's like, go outside? Sure, it's only orange. Oh boy, stay safe, everybody. It's such a weird time. Anyway, but we're gonna have a great time with Tiffany because Tiffany, you are our presenter today. So my normal Q&As, we'll switch it up because obviously
there's more questions to ask me, I guess.
Many more Q's.
Maybe I'm really boring and there's nothing else to ask.
No, I would only be on my side being the boring. But of course, we always have to do our little pre-chat stuff. But Brent Contained, how's the wine country treating you air-wise today? I know the East Bay, like I said, is in the orange, so hopefully you guys are doing all right out there. You all, excuse me. Let's get to the announcements. We have VMworld happening September 29th through October 1st. That's coming up. Paul's going to be on that one. What day? Do you know what day you're going to be on, Paul?
I think I'm on a Thursday, but I have no. Actually, I'm on demand, so you can watch me at any time you want.
Are you getting him in Darbles, Tiffany?
Yeah.
We're getting a bad connection.
I was like, is it my internet? It was being a jerk earlier, but it's not me.
Anyway, so you have to repeat everything you just said, my friend.
I'll be right back. I think I'm to the VPN.
All right, we're done. We're saying goodbye to Paul for now. We're dropping.
I tried looking it up and came up with do you want to build a Helm chart? And I just have do you want to build a snowman tune aligned and stuck with it.
Do you want to build a Helm chart and ride our bikes across the walls? All right, so yes. Anyway, VMworld is still happening. Whether Paul is going to be able to tell us about it or not, there he is. So go over to vmworld.com. It's still a little poppy. Try talking some more.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you've been having issues since Friday, mister. Throw away all the things.
Yeah, so we'll move on, Paul, and then we'll get back to you when you have figured it out. Spring One Tour. It's a 2020 look back at the Spring One 2020. And we're going to have a whole bunch of amazing speakers on it. Our very own Michael Cote, Brian Clozel, Glenn Renfro, Tiffany Jernigan, Cora Iberclyde, and myself will be talking about all the wonderful things that happened at Spring One. If you didn't make it to Spring One, how dare you? And if you did and you still weren't able to see everything, go to spring1.io. All the tracks are up. You can go back to things that you missed, rewatch stuff that you enjoyed and you wanted to learn more from. All that's going to be up for forever. I even think if you were part of it, the Slack channels are up still for 90 days or 60 days. Anyway, they're for a while. So yes, lots of more learning to be had. And we're going to be doing a look back on Spring One 2020. And that'll be happening September 23rd. So next Wednesday, if my math is correct. Or is that Thursday? Well, today's Tuesday, 23rd, carry the two. Thursday.
I would open my calendar, but then I'd probably regret it
No,
by
don't do
getting a
that.
million pings.
No, it's it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. How did I get that wrong? Anyway. All right, it's Wednesday. So it's next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Go to spring1tour.io, register. And then, Paul, did you already do your TGIK?
Yes. Hey,
It
can
was
you
That was
hear me
last
now?
week? I can hear you now.
I
You
sound
sound
better?
great. Yeah,
Oh,
so much better.
wonderful. All right. I shut down everything on my computer apart from Zoom. So
Including
yes,
Zoom.
TGIK, Cora and I co-hosted TGIK last Friday, and it is up on YouTube. I think if you go to tgik.io/live, that should take you there for a couple more days before it switches over to the next episode. Otherwise, you can go to tanzu.tv/TGIK and find it there.
And we've got so many new shows on the old Twitch channel happening. Cote's got something. Josh Long's doing his code.
That's
You've got
right.
something. Nate Shoota's got something. So lots and lots of great content to be had right here. So stay
Yeah,
tuned.
I think we're nearly going to hit the point where we have something happening like once every day,
It's great. Except for the
Yeah.
weekends, because come on.
except for the weekends.
Yeah.
Come on, guy.
Come on.
Come on.
Which is
Now
great.
that I can
And
speak, VMworld,
there it is.
let me think. What were we talking about? Yes, so
When is
I'm
your
in an on-demand session, I believe. So
What does
at
that
any
mean?
point during the conference, if you want to see my face, you can hit a button and see
Ah.
my face.
Oh, so it's like a pre-recorded and then this is
Yeah,
not a
that's
live.
right. So I think half the conference is like live sessions and half the conference is pre-recorded on-demand sessions. And so you just can sort of bounce around. That way, I think the idea is if there's like nothing on at a given time across the tracks, there's a bunch of existing content you can look through as well.
Got it.
Um,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
And
excellent.
I'm talking about, let me think. What am I talking about? Tiffany, what am I talking about?
I don't know, Paul. I wasn't able to find it fast enough.
Cloud native operations on Kubernetes. That is
There
what I'm
it
talking
is.
about. So I'm
Have
talking
you recorded
at
it already?
I have, yes.
Oh,
Which is why I've forgotten.
right.
I no longer
Yeah,
need
right.
to remember it.
Yep, it's already done.
Yeah, and so basically, I think like the crux of it is I'm talking about the theory behind what Tiffany is about to talk about, the practical behind. So I'm talking about more about like what is cloud native operations and what that looks like, whereas Tiffany is like going to go into actually making your Kubernetes clusters production ready using a lot of the tools and software and stuff that I talk about. So I guess I'm hitting the theory of it at VMworld, whereas Tiffany is hitting the practical of it right now.
Oh,
Almost.
that makes sense because clearly a lot of the VMworld audience is, kind of lower on the IaaS peoples, and so it's good to give them a
Yeah,
good overview.
and there's a
as
lot of,
opposed
like,
to the nitty gritty.
Kind of culture talk as well. So I actually got Cote to give me like a 10-minute cameo talking about digital transformation and kind of the journey you take from sort of older waterfall-y, like ITIL type enterprise IT processes through to doing things a bit more like agile/lean. So I've got like a solid 10 to 12 minutes of Cote in that, which is a great way to like do less work yourself. You invite people to come and participate.
Delegate.
Right?
Yes.
And the trick is to make them think you're doing them a favor.
Yes, exactly. So then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're doing your work for you and they still owe you one.
Exactly.
It's great. Yep. That savvy veteran move right there. You are a GDP, my friend. All right. So we got through all of that. Mother Dragons is here. Hey. We are talking
Now, did
about
we
both
mention
VMworld,
that
yes.
all the spring videos are already live? Because I think I saw.
Oh,
something
yes.
like that.
You missed that part. Yes. We did mention that because I was talking about Spring One Tour and how we're going to be doing a retro. And so people, if you want to do your homework, go back during this week so that you can actively participate. It was a really great show. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again, but it was a really great show, and I was happy to be a part of it. And I know you two also were happy to be a part of it. So
It was good.
Yeah. So Tiffany,
Yes.
let's move on to you. Let's get some Q's with some A's. What is your favorite comfort food?
Pod CU or pod Kimel?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, noodles, right? Like, just give me some warm, delicious noodles.
Yes.
And
I
so,
really
yeah.
like noodles, especially the flat white rice noodles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real good. You're making me a little hungry just thinking about that. And like, when's your go-to time? Like, just like on a rainy day? I mean, obviously any time because it's comfort food, but like, do you have like a particular time that's just like a craving?
No, it's just randomly. That sounds really good. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the other food that I really, really like that I was having in Georgia and hadn't been able to find until very recently was like the Caribbean Jamaican beef patties. And I've been trying to find them for years. Like I went back to school in 2015 for an event and I took frozen ones home because I liked them so much on the plane.
You're talking to people who've done a lot of similar things of that nature. I've had Paul literally travel a bottle of whiskey from Australia for a month before giving it to me. So yeah, we have done a lot of those types of things. So it's great. And yeah, I mean, obviously Washington's a little far from Jamaica, so it's in terms of geography. So you're not going to find a lot of like those one-off shops like you would in Georgia or Florida or something like that, which is a bit closer. So now you have one close to you, is what you're saying, or
yes.
You found one? Oh, good. Well, good.
And it's also nice because I get to support like small Black-owned businesses by getting it. So
it's a win-win-win.
Double great.
Yes. Win-win-win. Yeah, Paul did that with me. He sent me some barbecue sauces, and it was kind of a mystery. And then I was like, "Did you send me these barbecue sauces?" He goes, "Yes, and it's my friend's company, so I support him, and you get delicious barbecue sauce." So we like those types of wins. Well, good.
I'll have to try convincing me to like barbecue sauce. I've only found a few that I like. I hate most of them.
Well, challenge accepted, I think is the only thing I can say. Paul will definitely do that.
I bet you that Alabama white would be up your alley.
Yeah. What makes barbecue sauce white? Or yeah.
Nice.
Is it heavy cream?
I don't know what it's inside of it. I just know it's delicious.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. No idea what you're saying.
It's a mayo-based sauce, but you're breaking me up. Yeah, sorry, buddy. I think that means we just need to let Tiffany take this from now on. So, Tiffany, what are you going to be talking about today?
Making your Kubernetes clusters production ready with Tanzu and some open source stuff that VMware is working on.
That's awesome. Great. Do you need me to introduce anything else? Are you ready to go? Do you need some laser sounds? Do you need some PPQs?
Yes, I need some PPQs.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, coming to you live right now, Tiffany Jennigan. Beep, 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 beep.
Hopefully the end of my talk isn't up. All right, let's see. Let me find the sharing button.
I mean, if it is, I'll just do the applause button. Hold on, let me find it. There it is.
All right, let's see if I can properly share my screen. Come on. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Cool.
I'm looking at the feed and I see it coming in 5x5.
Sweet. Okay. If you haven't been on one of the Tanzu Tuesdays episodes before, I'm Tiffany Jernigan. I started on the developer advocacy team focused on Kubernetes at the very end of March. So it's only been a little bit. And yeah, also with the other two, one of the co-hosts of this every week. All right. And if you have any questions for me after this entire thing is over, my Twitter handle is listed on this slide and then at the bottom of all the rest of the screens. and don't mind the date because these were basically this is a longer version of what I did for Spring 1 since that was 25 minutes and there's a lot of material here. So this is a little more relaxed version. Okay, so basically like when you first started trying out Kubernetes, just playing around with it, maybe you created a local cluster or on some sort of like managed servers. So maybe you decided, hey, I'm going to try running this Nginx deployment since I can easily tell whether it worked or not. Or maybe you tried out the guestbook application to try a few different applications and different resources running at the same time. Then maybe you ended up going and started trying to run your own application and you created the resources you needed for it to run. So, well, now if you want to move from your dev environment to a production one, there are a few things that you need to consider when you're actually making that move. So some of them are, how will I manage my clusters, especially if they're not all in the same place? So how will I get visibility in my cluster? Is there an easier way to see how my resources are doing? And what about my metrics? Maybe if I want to do some alerting or check to see if I'm in a certain range. How will I make sure that my images are secure and that they actually get scanned and they get signed? What do I do if I lose state in my cluster or something went like super wrong and I need to revert it or move my resources to another cluster? So this is where Tanzu Mission Control or TMC, Tanzu Observability, Octant, Harbor, and Velero come in. So let's take a look into these different tools. Okay, so first I want to talk about TMC since it's kind of the starting point for everything. Basically, TMC lets you see and manage all your clusters in one place. So you can basically attach an existing conformant Kubernetes cluster you already have. So say if you have something on-prem or you have something in one of the public clouds, you can attach that. Or if you want, you can provision, scale, upgrade, delete clusters using the Tanzu Kubernetes Grid or TKG if you've heard it that way runtime. So basically, it's a nice way to like see all of your clusters or whatever subset of clusters you want to put together at the same time and be able to do some introspection on them. And you can kind of see like in this screenshot from it, you can see the different providers. You can see also the important thing of like, is this cluster healthy? Has it, and I'll show it more when I actually go to it, but like things like what are the versions, et cetera. And then you can dive into each of these clusters and see like what are the workloads, what are the nodes, et cetera. So you can also go and create and manage policies across one or like multiple of these clusters. So one of the nice things about this is that way you can consistently apply policies such as things for access, networking, container registries, and to just like set those for a subset of clusters that you want or specific namespaces that you want to do. And you can do this at scale. So there are also, like one of the other great things is that there are several built-in integrations. So there's integration with a few things that I already mentioned. So there's Tanzu Observability by Wavefront. So that's used for the observability and diagnostics. There's the ability to back up your cluster and the resources that you have there, and this uses Velero. There are cluster inspections, and this is done with Sonaboy. I'm not going to really go into this one today since there's already so much stuff, but I will show you how to enable it and whatnot. And then you can also do things like implementing centralized authentication and authorization and federated identity as well. So let's go on to the next thing. Okay, so now here we have Tanzu Observability by Wavefront. So if you're kind of wondering, okay, why is this name something by something? Basically, Wavefront was acquired by VMware. And the Wavefront product became like now what is part of the Tanzu portfolio and is now Tanzu Observability by Wavefront. So Tanzu Observability, basically it has a bunch of different integrations with things such as TMC, Spring Boot, general Kubernetes, various public cloud providers, etc. I can also show you where you can see some of that stuff. It also comes with built-in dashboards. So for instance, on the screen, that little snippet of a dashboard is basically the built-in Kubernetes cluster, the initial Kubernetes cluster dashboard that Wavefront lets you see. And then when you're wanting to dig in higher up, there's options to go through and look into pods or look into the containers. And it will also show you like the CPU and other charts just like this as well. And then you can also create your own custom charts, or dashboards, whether it's like based on existing metrics such as CPU and memory, or if you have ones that you created yourself, whether it's with Prometheus or something else, you can take a look at it that way as well. And then with these metrics, you can then create specific alerts that you want. You can have it send a message to Slack, to your email, etc., for whatever you decide to make it. You can also use distributed tracing tools and integrate them. So there's things like Zipkin, Jaeger, Spring Cloud Sleuth, and you can integrate these with it. So for instance, what I'll be showing later is if you have a database, if you enable Zipkin, and with tracing, you can end up seeing what it'll show up in the traces for if you do like a get on a specific thing or a post in the MySQL database. Okay, so next we have Octant. So basically this is where the whole like open source side of things start for the rest of these, for the rest of the slides basically. So Octant is just like extremely detailed like web interface for Kubernetes. Basically, it lets you dig into your clusters and your applications. You can see different namespaces, all the things you have running. There's the little dot that shows you whether it's like ready or healthy. I'm not sure exactly which of the two it is, but so basically it's a view instead of just using the command line and looking at things that way that you can actually use for more introspection into your clusters. So next we have Harbor. So this is where I was talking about having with the container registry. So basically Harbor, it's an open source container registry, and it fairly recently graduated as a CNCF project. So basically what you normally would think about container registries, they can hold container images, and then it can also hold Helm charts. And then it has built-in integration with some of the image scanning tools such as Trivy and Claire. And then if you're not really sure what exactly image scanning means, basically it's done to ensure that images are free of vulnerabilities. And then Harbor will also sign your images as trusted. So last of what I'll be talking about in this talk will be Velero. So Velero, again, is also open source. And basically, when I say open source, all these last three, you can find them on GitHub or go through like the docs and get to them from the links above on the top of the page. So Velero is used for backing up and migrating your Kubernetes resources and persistent volumes. So say if you want to move to another cluster for some reason, but you want to keep your resources instead of having to restart everything. Say if you have some data in your MySQL database, et cetera, and you don't want to just try other methods of copying that over manually. So basically you can use Velero to recover your data or like migrate it to another cluster, and then you can do things such as sending up backups and then restoring from previous state. So you can either, if you look in this screenshot here, you can see that there's one that I created myself when I felt like it. And then I also have it set on schedule to create daily backups. Okay. So let's go to the demo. Okay, so things might look a little funny since I'm super zoomed in, and therefore just like the way things are laid out may not be easy. I guess Paul or Bob can tell me if the font size is not good enough. But so basically, when you first start, you end up on the clusters page. So this is kind of where I was showing the screenshot of earlier. So it has all of the different cluster names. It has what the status is. So like if I were to click on one of the clusters that I have, I can see a general overview. This one was created with TKG, which currently uses AWS to create the clusters. So you can see things such as the CPU, memory. There's certain extensions that get installed that TMC uses. So basically, when you first start it up, you have to make sure that all of that is existing. The inspection part, that is what I mentioned with Sonoboy. So basically, you can, I've already started or enabled it on this. I can show you when I create a new cluster. But basically, you can choose to run an inspection, and then you can choose, do I want conformance? Do I want a CIS benchmark? Do I want light? And then you could go and run that. I'm not going to run it right now since I don't want to try running too many things at the same time on my cluster during a demo because demos. So it's kind of interesting how it's laid out. So right now it has this integration down here with Sonoboy. This bottom one down here, which is also enabled right now, is for Velero. And I'll go into the Velero part more later. But to do it with Wavefront, you have to go, at least for now, if you go under administration and integrations, you have to enable Wavefront there. And then if we go back here, then you would go and click add integration, and I already have, and then you can have Tanzu observability by Wavefront, and then put in this information here. In this cluster for now, I am not going to use the default way because a lot of this stuff is still pretty new, and I want to be able to enable Zipkin. So I can't currently do that. I put in a request for it, but I can't currently do that with the default way of just setting up Wavefront in TMC. So I'll be using the Helm chart for doing that. And then you can go into things such as, I want to look at the nodes, and then it'll show you what is my control plane. So I'm lazy and I mapped Kubernetes to K. So if I just do K get nodes, you can, it's a little hard. Let's see if I stretch it out a little bit. All right, so then you can see that I have the 4 nodes and then the master. So basically it's the same as what you can see over here. And then you can see there's node pools. Basically, when you create your cluster with TMC, you have the option of creating your default node pool, and then can choose things such as what in AWS, like what is the worker type, or what's the instance type, what AZ or availability zone, and then things such as number of worker nodes, etc. And then you can also here see namespaces. So there's all the generic or existing ones. So there's, let's see. I'll have to check later to make sure I deleted everything since this is still here. So yeah, basically there is stuff for Wavefront, which I also thought maybe I didn't delete things. 1 second before I'm gonna make sure I get everything deleted. Okay, I guess I just didn't run it, so I'll have that do its thing in the background. Okay, so then there's also workloads. So you can also choose to hide things from the Tanzu workloads or things from system workloads. So if you wanted to see specifically what am I just running or what is under just a certain subset. And then if it has the green check mark, then it knows that it's healthy. For some of these, depending on like what type they are, it ends up being unknown. And then if we go over to inspections, this is where you can see the Sonoboy inspections that you can run. So let's take a look at some of these other things here. So there is the concept of cluster groups. So basically, you can, depending on what your organization is, you can set a specific group of clusters. You can therefore, like one of the lowest level, simplest things is just, I want to find my clusters and I want to group them with this. Then there's things such as being able to apply certain policies. And if you want to apply it only to a certain set or certain cluster groups with a specific set of clusters within them. And then you can share that across the team. And there by default there is a default one created. Since this is a shared environment, I just went and I created my own. So you can just see that, and you can see within that, okay, what are my different clusters that I have running? So if we go back to, so we go over to like workspaces, for instance. So this part here is basically, it's used for grouping namespaces, and that can be from one cluster or different clusters. And there are different, I have one that I just created, and then you can, currently there's nothing in it, but I could go and add namespaces if I wanted to. You can also look at basically all the workloads for everything that is running. This is less useful for me right now solely because it is not only my stuff, but you can filter by name or what the object is and tie different things again. So basically this is like a larger, the entirety of what you could see when you went into a specific cluster. And then here, there are different policies that you can create. So for me, I have direct access policies and then generic ones that were created by default. So I guess one thing I should have gone through a little bit earlier. So in order to go and create anything in AWS, you need to have certain credentials, and you can use this and just create a account credential. It'll put that into AWS, and that's needed for being able to create resources, etc. So that could be things for like the Velero backup or your actual your EC2 instances, etc. There is a separate, so you can kind of see there's initial ones that aren't mine. I created my own that has my own account. And then you also need a separate one for the data protection, so for Velero. So in order to do backups, there's one that you specifically create there. Okay, so if we want to just like go through this, if I wanted to just go and let's say I want to create a cluster. So if I were to just choose my thing, and then if I want to just call it Tanzu Tuesdays. So then you can choose the cluster group then. So this might be a little hard to see, but basically it's that list of cluster groups I was mentioning. So I'm just going to use mine. I could give it a description or labels if I wanted to. And then here, it's scrolled down because sorry about the scrolling. It's kind of a thing with how it's zoomed out to over 100%. So basically you put the region that you're in. So for me, I'm closest to the one in Oregon. So I put US West 2. I have in AWS, I have a SSH key. It then chooses what the Kubernetes version it is that you want to use. There's some options, but it goes with the latest one. You have the option then of creating a new VPC or virtual private cloud, or you can use an existing one. There's usually by default, you can get a raise, but there's usually a limit of 5, but sometimes it can be good to have separate ones. That way you don't have to worry about anything interfering when you're dealing with one cluster or like any resources in one or the other. So I am just going to let it create a new one because I have room for one more. And then you can choose if you want to modify any of the CIDRs. I'm just going to leave them as default. So next you can choose, okay, for the control plane, do I want it to just be a single node? And this is especially for if you're just doing development and testing. Then if you're, depending on whether you're just doing testing or whether you just want to make sure that you have high availability, then you can have it be, you can choose that option where generally speaking, it results in the control plane being run on multiple nodes. So just for time's sake, I'm just going to run it as a single node. The default is just M5 large, but I can change that literally to any of the other options that I want. If you look on Amazon's instance list, you can see the CPU versus the memory for each of the different types and choose what you need accordingly. All right, cool. So this is where it creates the node pool. So basically it's just like the default one. This also is where you can choose for if I want a different size for my worker instance, how many worker nodes, and then you can give it different labels. and some of them get added by default to it. So if I'm just going to start with that plain, like exactly like that, and then go and click create cluster. So this takes a few minutes. So while it does that, I'll go to another thing. So I'll show one more thing with clusters. So basically you can also, as I mentioned, you can attach a cluster. So I have this GKE cluster. Let's see make sure that I am in the right place. Let's see. The annoying thing is when I zoom it out so much, it's hard to tell what I actually am at. But all right, so let's see, get nodes. All right, cool. So I am currently doing Duolingo for German and randomly decided to name it Kartoffel, which means potato. It seemed really fitting because I created it right before Spring 1, and so at the end of all the stuff, there was some dancing, like using one of the video editing tools and dancing of potatoes, but whatever. Anyway, so I'll just call it the same thing, and then maybe I'll put my username or my initials first. That way I can find it more easily. So then I can put in the cluster group, and then you can choose any of these other things. And then the next thing you have to do is basically there's this there's a file that they give you, and you just literally need to do a kubectl create in that cluster, and then it will add it there. So if I run that, I go back here, and then you click verify connection. This should be pretty quick. It usually is, but my internet's been kind of mean today. I guess I'll let that run and I can come back to that later. Okay, so cool, all right. So if we go over here, actually first I will start, okay, so I mentioned Octant. So if you install Octant, which I already did, in your cluster, all you have to do is type Octant, and it will pop up a new page with Octant. So basically, whoops, wrong direction. Okay, so again, all these things will look so much prettier on your desktop when they're not zoomed in like this. So basically, you can look at, this is just using the default namespace. So right now, there's just the Kubernetes service. There's this and all the like default secrets, service accounts, role bindings, etc. And we'll go, and you can see like some of the errors that ended up happening that I was dealing with previously. So basically you can just go through and see, okay, and I also enabled Vivlero beforehand because it takes a little bit of time. Basically, I don't want people to be watching the video and being like, all right, so I'm just watching you just stare at this thing until it works. So if we go look over at Vivlero, so basically, yeah, you can see the Vivlero deployment, you can see the pods, different replica sets, and basically everything that is here that is created for Vivlero. So I also want to mention, basically, you can run Vivlero on your own cluster and install the things you want as well. You don't have to do it via, if you're not using TMC, that is totally fine. Same with, actually, literally everything can work without the other things that I'm mentioning. I wonder if there's a way to make this top bar get shorter, but it looks like I'm out of luck. Okay, so there is this Spring Pet Clinic. This is currently my branch. The only difference, I need to just update it to be with mainline. I just decided it wasn't a good idea to do that during demo times, but basically the main difference between mine and the one that's just like, there's one under, so I forked a fork because there was added stuff to work with Kubernetes, and Oded added that in his branch, and then that stuff is now merged into the mainline, which is, if we just go to his, you can see it's just under Spring Pet Clinic. So the only thing that I added differently is that I am using the Helm chart to install the Wavefront proxy and the Wavefront collector, whereas in that last I checked in the demo or the stuff that's up on the main page, it's just running the proxy without using Helm and not running the collector. And with running just a proxy, you can get things like tracing, but you won't get the metrics collection without running the collector. So let's start into some of this. So I already ran, let me go to the part. So this part right now is for Cloud Foundry. Okay, so here's part for Kubernetes. So basically I did a few of these things right beforehand, such as I did a Docker login. I think I did a Docker login, we'll see. So I did a Docker login with Harbor, which I am currently running. I can show what's running for that. It's currently in a different cluster because I don't trust myself in breaking things and I don't want my entire registry going down. So I'll show that a bit. So basically, for instance, I use this. So if I set my repository prefix, so I have it here. I will just set it since I into Pet. Actually, I'll set it to Pet Clinic. I'll explain what's happening there before I actually run everything. So basically, this application is a Spring application. It uses Spring Boot, and with the new features of Spring Boot, it leverages cloud native build packs. So basically, and then there's Paketo build packs as well. So basically what it does is when you use Maven to build it, it will end up just taking so you don't have to worry about Docker files. You just have your regular code, and then you just use Maven and then you build it. And what this repository prefix does is you can give it to it and it would set that as the repository that after it builds all of your images, it will push it up to that repository or registry. So if we take a look at Harbor right now, so I was going to do this in the demo one, but I accidentally deleted more than I wanted to. So here in Harbor, I'll go into just I'll go into the different things of Harbor a bit more after I run things, but just for now, I'll show you the images that I currently have. So basically, there's several things for the Pet Clinic. So there's things like discovery. I'll see if I can find an image about it later, but basically there's different parts for there's a set for customers and it'll show who the different customers are and keep track of that. There's a service that has to deal with vets, which is the veterinarians. There's one for visits. So like when the customers have visited with their pets. So there's just basically a bunch of different things that go together there. So I ran the Maven and I used Maven and ran it, and basically I pushed it up and all this stuff went up there when I did that. Okay, so I'll just do some simple stuff with Harbor and then get into the actual, this Pet Clinic application. So if you were to just create your new registry and set everything up, by default, you would have this library called, a project called library, basically. This is where you can make your own, which is what I did for the other ones. This is where you'll see repositories. You can have Helm charts. I threw WordPress up there. There's different members for the specific project. You can give it labels. And then there's just if I could scroll properly, there's a bunch of other things that you can set here as well. So if I decided to just do, so right now I have pulled down Docker images. So if you have just Nginx or whatever it is, you can do Docker tag. And then if I do, and I'm just gonna do it this way, library. Okay, so basically if I did Docker tag, Nginx, and then this is the where my current registry is located. It'll be different for everyone. Mine is just set on my domain, for instance. Library, which is the library that we have here, and then give it Nginx. So you can also give it versions and stuff, but I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, so now it's literally just Docker tagging and Docker push, as you may be used to by default. So I see that Jerome is in the chat too. Hi, Jerome. Also, hi, Brent. So if we do Docker push, whoops. Okay. Not that. Okay. I guess I can't type. There we go. Okay, so then I'm just going to push it up there. And it shouldn't take very long. All right, so if we refresh here in repositories, you can now see that we have Nginx just sitting there. So if you wanted to just run that by itself, I could just literally do a Docker, a Kubernetes run. So if I do k run Nginx and then give it the image. So you give it, sorry, I keep changing demo to library because I killed off stuff in the demo, section. So basically it's just k run Nginx, you give it the image, and then that's the whole path that we just had. So if I do that, if I do a k get pods, you can see that it's creating, I could also watch it, etc. And now you can see that it's running. So another way that I could go about doing this is if I wanted to push up a Helm chart. So say if I were to just go and fetch one in case I don't already have it. So if I do Helm fetch and if I get it, the Bitnami Nginx. So got that. Okay. So right now for adding Helm charts via the CLI, I believe it only will end up putting it under repositories here and not under Helm charts based on, you can see that some of that stuff, which is sort of hard to see with the way I have it right now. Let's get rid of that. Basically, it's using this, there's a Helm chart save and Helm chart push, and that's pretty experimental right now. But if you just want to go through and just add it as a regular Helm chart, if I click upload and browse, let's see if I'm even in the right place. I'll just go make sure I get there correctly. Okay, so here is the target GZ that it just dropped when I did the fetch. So if I add that, and then basically you can also add a provenance file. This is for added verification information. So I can just click upload. And then now you can see that I have that Helm chart. So if now what I can do is I could do, whoops, what did I just do? Nope, all right. I did something funny. Okay, so if I just do a Helm repo, add, I don't know, Tiffany Faye demo, I don't know. Oops, what did I did something wrong. Oh yeah, that, and then let's see, what is the whole, so I need this. And then next you have to put chart repo and then the chart that the repo you're putting it in. So mine was under library. Cool. So if I do a Helm repo update, you can see that it's pulling from there. Let's see if, yeah, okay. And then next, if I do a Helm install Nginx Tiffany Faye demo / Nginx, theoretically, this should start that. So if I basically, yeah, you can just like watch it and see if that's there. And then you can see that there's the IP, etc. So basically this is running. I guess if we want, we can run this. And I have this path here. And I guess it'll take time, but later I can look at that and that should be running. Okay, so now let's go into the pet clinic. So if we go back here, so basically there are a few different files. Let's see if I have the code up. Let me find it real quick. Okay. So if I yank this down here. So basically, there's just like this Spring Pet Clinic Cloud, the init namespace that I was just showing over here. So basically, in that, there's just a file. You could do kubectl create namespace, for instance. So this one is just creating the namespace that's specifically for running this set of applications. This is the part that I was talking about. So basically, if you look at the other docs, it's a little different here. So I created a script that will deploy Wavefront like for the Helm chart for me. So if we look, let's see, it's so hard to see this one. It's giant mode like this. Let me shrink it down. I might actually have it open. Yeah. So it's a little janky right now. I'll make it better. But basically, since I'm running in Team C, it needs some PSPs or pod security policies. So I am creating those in order to have the collector work. Basically, if we look in, there's way too much stuff here. 1 moment. Yeah, okay. So basically, there is this PSP that I created. I took this from what is happening in TMC, but basically it gives it access to the host path, the config map, and the secret. And basically, without having host path, etc., your container will not run. It'll just be showing that the deployment just is never running. And then it takes in the cluster name, and then there's a Zipkin app name. So basically, this is what is being used in Wavefront. Everything will be under that. Then I'm creating the namespace for Wavefront. And then I'm adding that and like basically adding the repo and doing Helm install. And with that Helm install, this is the part that I was mentioning that you currently can't set by default in the TMC version. So basically you just give it the Zipkin port and then give it that application name that I mentioned previously. And then there is also, I have a separate script that literally all it's doing is it's just setting the URL and API key so that I don't do the same thing I did on a previous talk and share like my Docker password. So yeah. All right, so if we just go and do the script and then deploy Wavefront. Cool, and then I give it my cluster name. Assuming I am in the right, yeah, it's still TFJ. Okay. So it goes, I forgot to delete the Wavefront namespace, so that was still there. But it went through and started creating all this stuff. If we take a look back over here in Octant, if we go over here, we have the Wavefront. We have Wavefront, so you can see there's that daemon set for the collector. And since I had the pod security policies and Tappy, it created 5 of them. So it's based on the number one for each. So that was the daemon set. So it's based on each node. There's the Wavefront proxy. And then I have like the different all the different pods and replica sets that are created. So like if I were to look into the Wavefront proxy, for instance, you can see the general summary, what the status is, what pods are there. You can see metadata. So like labels, annotations. There's this cool resource viewer that is not, there we go. You can see basically with each resource, what are all the other things that it's connected to and like created. So you can see kind of like, here's the deployment and then the replica set and the pod and then the other things as well. And then if we go over into the YAML, you can see different things in the YAML. Basically, this is if you did like a get on it -o YAML. Okay, so cool. All right, so now let me quickly kind of show some of the stuff for the actual application. So, which, let's see if I can actually see what anything is. I need like some way of like having it big on my screen and just, or like on my screen as soon as I can just like smash it or like make it super large. So basically there's this init services. It has a bunch of things like creating, there's a config map, and for the pet clinic, there is a set of rules for being able to read, etc. There's setup for the API gateway load for like the load balancer that the endpoint that you end up using to connect to the web page for it. There is a service for the customers, vets, and visits. So let me go back over here. So basically next, I just want to go and apply those and it will create these services that I need. Let's see if it is, remember, nope. Whatever I did, I think reset my entire history, which is unfortunate. All right, so if I, whoa. What did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot to create the namespace. I think I did that, oops. Yeah, all right. I'm jumping ahead of myself, whoops. So if we just did K, and if you started late, K is just literally my alias to kubectl because I'm lazy. So if I do Spring Pet Clinic, and if I just did like Gitpod, I guess nothing is there. Let's see. I mean services. So if I go and see, you can see that there is external IP. So this is the for the load balancer, and then it has the other services that it ended up creating. So again, we can also just like look over here. I'm going to shrink it down so it won't be exactly easy to read, but so you can see that there are the different things there. So if I go here, and you can also see it, I didn't have to refresh, it automatically updated. So if we go to Spring Pet Clinic, one sec, I'm going to drink water because the ash around here, like it's 213 or something for the AQI, so my throat's kind of mean. Yeah, okay, I wish I had a button to reset my entire history sometimes, except for maybe not. Come on. Well, that's weird. Did me zooming like totally mess it up? I'll come back to this. My laptop's also trying to take off and fly. All right, so if we go back to GitHub. Okay, so basically, yeah, we can just I can run this. It makes sure that I have all those services up and running. So then if I go and check, like we already looked, we saw that some of the other services, but if we want to look individually, we can see that too. Okay, so you don't have to use databases with this. There's ones that are kind of built in, but they only last for like an hour, and then it boots everything you have. So a good way to go about that is to use MySQL databases. So you could probably set it up a way where they're all different, or they're all using the same database and different tables and stuff. But the way that this is done, it's just creating one for each. So basically, first we need to make sure we have the storage class. Okay, cool. So we have that, and you can see this one, it's an AWS and it's EBS. All right, so then I'm just gonna copy this. So basically it is going to, here, I'll paste it since it takes a little time and I'll talk about it. So basically it's pulling the Helm chart for all of these are using the MySQL one. In the namespace that we have, just sending it to a specific version. And the way that we have the default way that some of the stuff with the Pet Clinic app is set up is it uses the service instance DB. And if you don't put that, it'll go with the default database. And then you'll wonder after an hour why everything disappeared, but it really didn't. So debugging is pretty fun. Okay, cool. So you could go into all of these if you wanted, and then actually dig into your charts if we have time. Maybe I'll do that, but yeah, it's important to run a separate database for each microservice, otherwise we're not maximizing this revenue. Nice. Yeah, well, also I guess if one database goes down, you only lose one thing, right? All right, cool. So then there's a script to deploy to Kubernetes. So this is actually deploying the deployments for like the customers and vets and all that stuff. Okay, cool. And then let's see if, okay, there we go. So now we can see that those deployments are not ready. in the like. Some people use the watch tool and then put the kubectl, which it can be easier for some people. So it just changes like in the same location, or you can add the -w, or you can have this lovely tool here where you just stare at it and do nothing, and it will show you when everything is happy, which is pretty nice. All right, cool. So we have all of our deployments and everything. We have all the pods, replica sets, stateful sets. Okay, cool. Everything looks happy so far. Awesome. All right, so let's go back here. And then let's get, so now that that is running, this is the moment of truth part. Let's get that external API, that load balancer path from AWS, and then cross our fingers that it works. Okay, cool. Woohoo! All right, so this is the cute little Spring Pet Clinic app that's in Java and uses Spring. It basically, there's just things like, all right, so I can see, all right, who are all the owners? And it has, and all this stuff is coming from the database. And these ones are like the default ones. There's a list of veterinarians and what they're focused on, and you can't really do anything with that yourself. So basically, if I were to go back here, let's say I wanted to register myself. So Tiffany, I'll just put my last initial, my grade address. Sure, I'll put Seattle, and then my lovely phone number. All right, cool. So if I submit that, so basically you can now see that I am hanging out down here. We can go and give myself a pet, which I currently don't have, but would eventually want. So I'm gonna get, like, we'll name it Mochi, and claim that I got my pet today, and it's going to be a hamster, because why not? So now if we go back to me, we can see, like, there's my pet. I can add a visit. I can edit my pet. So if I add a visit, I can just say, I don't know, shots. And then if we were to tinker, I'll explain why I'm tinkering around with this in a second. So then, like, if I were to go to whoever this is, I could add another visit here. I'm also just going to be lazy and say shots. There's slightly something up with this specific application that I haven't had a chance to debug, that basically, instead of jumping back to this page, it jumps back to the main page. And I haven't had a chance to see why, but I'll show you where you can see some of the issues with that in Wavefront. Get 2 more in a stick and we can make Dango? I don't get it. I'm sorry. I must be missing something. So we can say that this person literally moved a house down for some reason. All right. So the reason I was dinking around there is if we go over to Wavefront, which, here we go. So first I'll start it small and then I will zoom. So basically this is just kind of like the beginning thing. It shows you kind of like how to create a chart, welcome Wavefront, etc. If we zoom in, oh gosh, I stole that. There we go. There's a bunch of different things here. So these are the ones I had recently. There, you can do a browse and look at different things as well. But basically, I'm just going to go to the Kubernetes clusters one. So yeah, like, again, a lot of this stuff looks so much better when I don't have it completely like zoomed in. Let me just do that for now, just to show you, since you don't actually need to read the majority of the numbers and stuff on here anyway. So if I put, so I have 2 clusters running. This one is my backup one, which is the one that has Harbor running. And this is the in case all things break besides my internet, so I can show things. So if we just switch it to the cluster, since I remember I put TFJ, so that showed up in for like the collector. So that shows up in here. So basically there's this cute little box that is your cluster. It tells you things, some of the things that you also can see over in Octant and also in TMC. So like how many nodes, how many namespaces. And then this is where some of the other really cool stuff comes in. basically you can end up having, this is the default one. It has all these different charts. Again, if I zoom in, it just doesn't work out so well. Oh yeah, and then I have to reload everything. I guess I will just make them small for now. Yeah, so basically you'll be able to look at this if you play with it yourself. But so for each one of these, it shows in the namespaces like CPU usage, then it goes specifically by nodes. And then you can look at bytes received. And then there's cool other details that I'll just say kind of what it says, unless you have like amazing eyeballs or something. So it's basically like what cluster is no name. It has like resource information. And then like file system usage, etc. If we look under pods, and then you can see all the memory usage used by each pod. For instance, the API server is using 2.9 gigs, which is a lot compared to everything else. And then just like some of the other stuff, pod containers, memory usage by pods, uptime, etc. So like someone had set it up. So let's see if this, helped me create an external link. So if there's like distributed tracing like for the pod. So I can actually, like this one specifically for the API gateway. So you can see all these cool things of like how many requests it was getting. And this was me playing around with it. Like the top requests. So things like the GET, the POST, etc. What's slower, latency, JVM. And then I haven't looked into the last one, but there's just like a bunch of things there. If we go back to, whoops, one second, the Zoom thing decided to move to this screen for some reason and won't go away. That's nice. Okay. I guess I'll be yelled at if if things aren't working right. Okay, so if we go here, you can also jump into it for each cluster. So you can also specify, so this like literally is literally all the pods. So you could like stick your mouse over each one, or you could specify what node I want, or you can do like Spring Pet Clinic, for instance. So this is just my pods for the pet clinic. And then again, you can see all the things specifically for those ones. There's this other part that you can look into. It's called traces. So let's see, I'm going to select an operation in the sense of, so my other cluster is running with the name V0 and this cluster is running at this one. Otherwise it's just going to be all the things. So if I set it that way, you can do outliers, most recent errors, etc. I'm going to just do most recent. So basically it's mostly been a bunch of watches. And as I mentioned, remember how I said that for some reason, I have to look in the code, but it jumps back to the page and fails. You can actually see that here. If I could actually scroll, which I can't right now because weird things. I don't know why my entire screen is just being a jerk. Let's see. No, for some reason, oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, basically like you can maybe see the different things happening. You can click on it. I know you can't probably read that, but basically like if you dig into it, you can see like what's happening, that it's a GET, it's on the HTTP path pet/visits. If we look here, it's the owners and it's on owner ID. You can see things like that happening. And then if I were to go back over here and if I were to like add a new visit, and then we'll click someone else, and then add a new pet. What's in the box? A rabbit hole into the clusters and such. I don't know.
It's a 7 reference.
Oh no, I didn't
From
get
the
it.
movie 1995, so it's probably.
When was the movie created?
Actually, it's a June reference.
June? Like the month?
Yeah, as in like the sandworms and the spice must flow.
Oh, Dune. Your Canadian
I heard
accent.
June.
I think you said June. Yeah, I heard June as well. Anyway, you need to keep your mind clear, and you can't pull your hand out of the box, otherwise it would be catastrophic. Never mind.
What
It's
kind of?
Indianapolis.
I'm naming this animal 7. What animal is it? A bird, a cat, a dog, a hamster, a lizard, or a snake?
A snake.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, cool. So now if we go back here, and then the way this is, you would have to click last 5 minutes. Again, this is, let's see, 209. There's the get. Yeah, it's basically it takes time for all this stuff to like go through, especially since I have a ton of stuff in here. And you can set like how often things come through. The way I have it set right now, it doesn't all come through exactly immediately. So here we go. You can see that at 2:10, there's a post, one of the posts that I did. You can kind of like dig into it, which I won't really do on the screen because it's really difficult to have anyone see anything. But yeah, and you can see that there's communication between API, gateway, and the customer service. So there's another way to look at that. There is this application map. And let's see, oh my gosh. There's another part that is not showing up right now. And I don't, so there's normally another button that shows nodes that are things that aren't directly connected. And I haven't figured out yet whether I haven't gone to the page enough or if it's because that one thing is broken for the visits, which I actually think is probably why. But there should also be a visit service that ends up showing up. And then you can also like set it to being live, and you can see like how the requests kind of go between the different services. But yeah, there normally is another button to get me to pull the other one up, but at least zoomed in like this, I can't see it. Okay, so then you could also go and like create your own dashboard. So let's see, if I wanted to, I don't know, Tanzu Tuesdays. Sure, super creative. All right, so then if I wanted to have a new chart, I could have a line plot, for instance, if I wanted, and I will call this pets. So what you can do, depending on like what metrics you've set up, so you can do things like with certain integrations, you can go to specific metrics. So these are all the different ones that I guess like all my applications and in general have created. So there's different, there's like Zipkin tracing ones. There's just like some of the HTTP. There's ones, if you look in, where is it? Yeah, if you look in like Kubernetes, I could do things such as my cluster and look at stuff like that. So first, since we already have some of that stuff, I'm gonna start with, so there's pet clinic. So I could go over to pets. So I could go and click the number of pets. And then filter, I'm going to set it to this one specifically. And then let's see. I'll just have it as that for now. All right, so if I save that, let's see. Come on. Okay, so if I were to go, I believe that this one is based on, this is based on the number, I think looking at it is based on the number of pets I've added, but let's verify that by giving myself a new pet. So I'll just use the existing random names that I've come up with. Sure. If we go back here, I don't know if, or actually, let's just do it this way. So I don't know exactly well enough how this specifically works because I definitely tried figuring this out yesterday. Let's see. Oh, pet types and owner, oh, per. There should have, maybe it's just not there yet for the one I just added. But you get the general, there we go. Okay. Yeah, basically it's just like there's so much stuff going on between your application. Zipkin needs to know about it. Or actually not for this one's not Zipkin, but like the application, Wavefront, collecting the data, and then it's just like honest. It's not like every like millisecond or whatnot. There's like a certain time thing. Otherwise you'd be overrun with data potentially. And I think you can change this, but I'm not sure. But basically, yeah, you can see now that I have now added another pet. But basically you can do this for any information or anything that you specifically want. So I could save that and sure. Cool. All right, so now we can also do things like creating alerts. So so basically I could just go create a new alert. You can search for specific metrics. So you can look in here, for instance, you could see, okay, if I want to go to Kubernetes and if I want to go to my namespace, let's see, actually, let's do cluster. Come on, internet. All right, so pod count. Let's see. Sorry, the smoke is really being evil. Actually, there should be a way at Kubernetes. Let me try namespace again. There we go. That's what I wanted. So pod count. And so let's see how many, if we look over here, an octant, how many pod, it's probably not the easiest way to see it at the moment. Okay, so there's 10 items. So I have 10 pods. I think let's just refresh, double check that. Okay, yeah, so if I do 50, yeah, 1 to 10. Okay, so if I go back over here, I could say if the number, actually I'm going, let's see, there's a filter. So I could do namespace name. I'm actually going to do a default so I don't mess anything up. So let's see. Okay, so I have that right now. And then if I wanted to check to see that my namespace, just default. And then, no, I don't need an and. And then here we can see, you can add an aggregation or filtering, and then you can change the type. So like you could say if it goes less than, so I currently have 2. So if the number of pods I have in my default namespace is less than 2, then I can cause it to give me a warning, and you can give like email and other things like that. So there's also this chart here that shows how many things are in that namespace. Let me see, set the cluster to this one. Okay, so that should update and should theoretically be more than 0. Why is it being like this? Oh, okay, never mind. That's not based on the specific number. It's based on the deviation with what you're checking. Okay, so if I save that. Oh, I guess I forgot to name it. Okay, so it's currently checking right now. Go here. Let's see. Actually, it's still doing its thing. But basically, if I were to go and delete Nginx, depending on how long this takes, it should end up showing that, yeah, it might, I don't know what all it has to do to check. And also how long, because my computer is just having major issues right now. But let's see here. Yeah, my internet is just being horrible. You can see that it's just trying to do things and it's not. But basically I had set some other random ones and you can see that basically it ends up firing and gives me warnings, and it'll say like what is being specifically affected by it. And if once this thing is done doing its own thing, which we can check again in a bit and see what it says, it should end up being angry as well. Okay, so now that we have, I'm sorry that it hurts your heart. I don't know if you can actually hear that I'm starting to sound more frog-like or not, but basically throughout the day, I've just been like, being Bane until this talk. Let me quickly look through the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything before I continue on. Tanzu. Oh, that's so good. All right. Paul and Bob, we need to make Tanzu.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm bummed that I didn't come up with it. I came up with Tanzu tan suits, but I did not come up with the Tanzu. It's really good. Really, really good.
Is Tanzu a nickname for a tanning zoo, which is like a petting zoo, but to get tan with cute animals? All right. Okay. So if we go back here, we can see like that I added myself here. So now what I want to do is I want to show Valero. So basically, if I go back over to Tanzu Mission Control, oh, actually here, since now that we went away from it, it's a success that this is for the GK, if you forgot, this is for the GKE cluster that I just dumped this in. So if I click view my cluster, this is my Kartoffel, my potato cluster. And you can see that it's in Google Cloud, and you can actually see a bunch of the different things going on with it. You could add integration. So I could add Wavefront, and I'm not going to add that right now because I don't want to copy my token to the entire world. But basically, it will end up creating not the namespace won't be Wavefront, but it'll be like Tanzu Observability SaaS or something along the lines of that. I might actually have a cluster with that being the case. Let's see. Nah, I don't know if I actually do. Anyway, so if we go back to the cluster that I'm currently running on, if we go over to create backup, I have multiple options, and basically, sorry, I'm giggling at the chat. This is the best chat that I've seen so far for Tanzu Tuesdays in terms of me being thoroughly amused. Oh no, yeah, you're fired. Okay. All right. So basically, like there's a few things that you can choose to back up. You can back up the entire cluster. You can choose to back up selected namespaces, and you can do a resource using a specific label selector. So I'm just going to back up the entire cluster. So you have the option here to. You're all horrible. The Wendy's Twitter account was really funny. All right. So you can set a schedule. You can do it. I just want my backup right now. You can also do some other custom ones. There's hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. It's a good idea to have a set backup in general because you never know what might happen. I'm currently just going to set it for scheduling for now, since setting it for an hour from now is not going to be important to you all because I don't plan to be talking to you for an hour. I'd probably have no voice left. So you can set the backup retention. Default's just 30 days. Sure, why not? And then name and create. So let's see. I'm just going to call it Tanzu Tuesdays, and then 2:23 because it's technically 2:23 p.m. my time. All right, so if I create that, and then you can see all the other things I've done previously with random names and scheduling. And then I don't, on this cluster at least, I don't have a specific schedule. And then there's some resources. Like if I were to look at my other cluster here, if we look at, or I don't want to actually create the backup, I want to just look at backups. I need to, oh my gosh, I would need to find where it actually is without creating one. Yeah, I'd have to look. I don't actually know off the top of my head where it is, so never mind. All right, let's go back here. Oh, I guess I have to know where it is. Oh, geez. Maybe. So there's inspections, data protection. Oh, it's what? Yeah, basically, if you shrink it too much, it disappears. All right, that's nice. Okay, so basically that backup that I just created is there. Okay, cool. So now let's go find, there we go. All right, so if I do, and let's see, did I call it, okay, whatever, Spring Pet Clinic. If I get my pods. Okay, so I am going to be an evil person, and I'm just gonna nuke my customers' database. Just like all these people and their stuff. something's happening to it and we're losing all that information. So if I delete those, just gonna get rid of both of those. All right. So if I refresh here, oh no, all of our like pet owners, they're gone. We're toast. Like, what are we gonna do? So this is where the backup comes in handy. So basically, if I go, let's see, I might have to shrink this to actually see everything. So if you have an action, no, where is it? Create backup. I always forget this. Restore. Where is my create? Oh, I guess I have to go to it, I think. Yeah, there we go. So if I click restore backup, and then I'm just restoring the entire backup. I'm not sure why you have to name the restore instead of just calling it the same as the backup, but maybe it's when you look at all the things in general, not in a pretty fancy UI, that when you use the CLI, maybe it's harder to tell. I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna be lazy. So if I restore it, you can see when the last backup was, or hopefully you can see when the last backup was, and then the last restore. And this shouldn't take too long. While that's doing its thing, I'm just going to quickly, okay, there we go. So this here, you can see that it's firing, and it's been doing that for at least 5 minutes. And then if I were to, let's see, what was, I guess, K run, sure. If I run that again, this should eventually figure itself out and stop being angry at me. And it's also set for a certain amount of time. So, but you can kind of see over here that it was 1 is true. So therefore it was like, basically it was checking if that case is true. So if it was less than 2, and then over here you can see that it now is back to 0 and happy. And then after the few minutes or 1 minute or whatever I set it to, I didn't actually pay attention, I'm sorry. You can set it to how long that it waits after it's in a good state before it stops firing. Okay, so if we go back, okay, cool, restored, great. So now is the moment of truth. Yay, all our stuff's back, and we know it's not the default one that just came with it because I still am here and I still have Zeus and Mochi as my pets. So yeah, that's basically the things that I kind of wanted to go over. If there's any questions, let's see. Well,
we can't say if there's any comments because they've been a-flowing.
So Mochi did get shots already.
Yay, Mochi.
I actually know someone who had their hamster named Mochi and it was just too adorable. But yeah, I think that's all I have for right now. I will stop sharing unless I get asked to share again, and I will commence into frog mode.
Frog mode? We getting froggy up in here?
Yeah, like there's no frog option, but like soon, if there was a frog option, they'd be adding me as the frog.
That made me think of Honey Smacks, the cereal with the frog on the front. I don't know why.
Where's Paul?
Well, as we know, Paul's audio is terrible.
I'm scared about my audio.
Yeah, he's just all types.
Your
today.
face, though, you can at least just like.
How close are we to that man bun, Paul?
Is there a mochi emoji?
We're pretty close.
Mochi?
Well, Tiffany, that was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're getting really close. You're getting real close.
Nice.
That was.
Yeah, I don't know. This was definitely better than trying to shove all that into 25
mins. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta cut. It was the same. Our good friend Java Grunt had that same thing. He's like, "Yeah, I also had 25 minutes, and it was an hour and a half when I did the first time, so I changed it." So the struggle is real, hash browns. But yeah, that was great, and also great comments, everybody. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do it. Subscribe to the channels. Yeah, it's always nice when everybody chimes in.
I just realized Are you wearing the competition's t-shirt?
Oh,
Crap. I grabbed the wrong shirt this morning. I guess so. Yeah, it was supposed to be an Octant shirt. I didn't even realize. It's not even the same color.
Maybe you'll get a like from the IBM developer Twitch channel.
Oh yeah, Cora.
Look at you, but Paul. I mean, you're not even wearing. You're wearing some other off-brand something. Who even knows what you're wearing?
Definitely Nibs. I was so excited wearing my Octant shirt for the first time, and then I grabbed the wrong shirt.
Here's the
Yeah, I know.
Well,
for shame.
Rest your weary voice. You certainly have inhaled more smoke and talked it out during this last hour plus.
Yeah, I wonder what the air rating is now.
Do you have an air purifier in your house?
It's on its way here eventually.
Yeah.
So now it's 206, which is really bad.
It's no good.
But yeah, no, like we took too long to order one. And we
making
ordered
air purifiers.
Huh?
Using like all these folks are making them using a box fan, a pair of like air conditioning.
Does that actually work?
A bunch of duct tape. I mean, I guess so. Whatever pulls the.
If you're doing like an Apollo 13, we need to figure it out.
Right.
That's just it. By the way, you had my doggies riveted. I don't know if you can see them. I took a picture.
Sort of.
It's hard to see.
From my view, they just look like baby Yodas. I just see the ears.
Well, they're sleeping. There they are. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see them.
They're so sleepy bears.
Aww.
Yeah, that's what they do. Well, that was great again. And a reminder, if you want to see the 25-minute version, you can go to spring1.io.
I don't know why you want to. It's super sped up.
It was just my segue to say you can go back and watch even Java Grunts, Deshaun Carter's, and lots of talks. They're all on the spring1.io website. So we're excited. I think I just locked in our guest for next week. I think we're bringing back our friend Mario Gray, which is great. Great. See what I did there? Nailed it. All right, my friends.
I don't get it.
It's from Dune. I mean, because the trailer's out? Is that why you did the Dune reference? Everyone knows what's in the box is from Seven. Come on, guy.
It's from Dune. But I had what's in the box, like digital transformation talks like for years. So I was like referencing Cote.
Okay, all right.
Here's everyone's friendly reminder and to myself wearing a mask.
Yeah, there it is. In 9 to 5.
Yeah, wear your mask.
Mask up. Hopefully you don't need to go into a bank right now and set it off.
Go to the what?
I don't know. Didn't he like blow up a bank or something in the beginning?
Oh, Bane. Yeah.
You made like 9 Bane references, so I was trying to go.
Yeah, I just didn't hear what you had said because my headset was falling out.
Because you have a mask over your ear as well. I get it. It's fine. Well, my Tanzunians, this was great. Thank you so much. Tune in next week. Same time, same channel. And Sweet Killer 9, I we miss you. I know it's really late for you, so if you're watching this on replay, we miss you and hope you're doing well. Anything else that we need to add, my friends? Let's see what's going on in the chat. It's pinging up.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think just another reminder that we have Spring One Tour recapping cool things about Spring One next Wednesday.
Yeah, the 23rd. That'll be a lot of fun. So tune in for that, my friends. Yeah, but you have to register for that. Well, you can watch it on this, but if you want to, I don't know, are there going to be Q&As? No. Anyway, you can watch it on this channel, the Twitch channel, or you can go to spring1tour.io and register and then be in it through that channel. So I'm really selling it. I think we just added like 6,000 participants because of what I just did. Okay, thank you for that very small applause. Wait, hold on. I got applause. There it is. Here comes my applause now. And my own.
Remind everyone else about the other Twitch channel stuff.
Oh, right. Is that from?
Java Grunt.
Is that from? Oh, Jim Java. Okay. Yes, actually, this will be great practice because I've got to let everybody else know. I just got our list. Here we go. Where is it? It's right here. Boom. We've got Code, which is on Wednesdays, and one of our spring advocates will be doing live coding. We had Josh. Was it last week? And he crushed it. He just like was doing stuff from his new book. And so I believe who's doing it tomorrow?
Mario was last week. Josh.
Mario was last week. Josh was 2 weeks before.
And I think we're actually taking a break this week.
Okay, so it's next week. I know Mark Heckler's next week.
I believe we'll have Mark up next week.
Next week, Mark Heckler. I know he's next week. All right, so yeah, and then we've got before the aforementioned, Kote, who's doing his Tanzu talks. That is in the European time zone, so make sure you stay up late or get up early. I'm not sure what the time difference is. And then between chair and keyboard, our good friend Nate Shuda is going to be doing those. So yeah, this channel will start something every day, like Paul was saying at the beginning, will be happening. So, and of course, your Tanzu Tuesdays. So subscribe, my friends. Have a great day.
And if that is all too much to remember, you can always go to tanzu.tv.
Yep. And
yeah.
Bob's your uncle. That's me.